Hi, Tricia. How you doing today?
Hi, Rod. I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, just fine. Getting ready for the holidays and winter time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Trisha Humphrey. I write under the name of T.L. Humphrey, and I have been writing for a really long time since I was 14. And I just got published probably about, I think it's 2 or 3 years ago now. I'm a bad book mom. I don't remember my book birth dates. And then I had started doing editing work, and I was doing this for other authors, and I was doing it for free. And one of them said, "Why don't you get paid for this?" So I was like, "Well, why don't I?" So I started getting my website set up and ready to go, and here I am.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. And I met you on a new site that I just recently joined, Fictionary.co.
Yeah.
And I sent a little test and a couple of my short stories. And I've got to say, your editing insights are very impressive. You
Thank
got
you.
great editing skills. You found things that I would have never seen. And, nice little slice of humble pie for me. And sometimes I need it. But really showed off your skills as an editor. So I can definitely vouch for you that, you provide an excellent service. And that's cool.
Thank you.
Now, just the format of the show, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the questions. Just ask you a few questions. The first question: do you consider yourself to be more of a developmental or a line or a copy editor, or do you, pretty much do it all? Do a blend of those skills?
It's a blend for sure, but it is also separated. So when you look at a developmental type of editing, this is when the writer has written a story from start to finish. They've maybe made 1 to 3 passes over it, and then they're still wondering, is it good enough? And this is when you can do this in several different ways. A developmental editor will get into your story and say, hey, this works, this doesn't work, this might work, you need to strengthen it here. And really just kind of gets into those bare bones of the story so that the writer can flesh it out.
Mhm.
And then copy and line editing, I combine them. I know a lot of other editors do not combine them.
Mhm.
But I combine them because it's really hard for me to separate them out. When I'm in the middle of this story, I'm looking for consistencies, and I'm looking for that things are to make sure that you don't have blue-eyed character in the beginning and a brown-eyed character by the time the book's done, unless
Uh-huh.
it's maybe if it's fantasy, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But it's very important to make sure that these things are cohesive and that they flow. So that I combine those. And then, of course, proofreading is your final step before publishing. And then you check all your little quotations and making sure all your spelling is right. So all of them.
What would you say is your editing style in terms of working with the writer?
Every book is different. You always have to approach it. Everybody's mind works different. And I know I told you I like the way your mind worked because you had some very interesting little psych type of nuances in your stories that I really kind of was drawn to, really. Um, so it also depends on the genre. It's going to depend on what the writer's goal really and truly is. So I always take those type of things into account. And I'm sorry, I'm a fidgeter. I cannot sit still for the life of me. So
That's
I
okay.
try
I'll
to.
jump around.
All
It'll,
right. So
it'll look
I
like we're dancing and having a ball, you know?
I try to sit still. I really do. But so yeah, it just depends on the story. Just you
Yeah.
know, what their end goal is. And I try to find the writer's voice so that I'm not interjecting my own into it. But sentence structure is sentence structure. So even if it sounds like I give suggestions sometimes, like consider writing it like this, and I will actually put in a sentence that I've come up with. It's up to the writer if they want to accept that or not, or maybe they can take what I've suggested and make it their own, add something else to it. So yeah, it just depends.
Oh, but that's really nice. And a collaboration between editor and writer is an ideal way of working, And I've recently learned, again, another slice of humble pie, but I put my writing, everything, short story, novella, novel, through a pretty intense self-edit, using all the, well, not all, but a lot of the well-known software out there. Two that I like a lot is Hemingway Editor and Pro Writing Aid. That's 2 out of 5 steps that every word I write goes through. So I'm sitting there feeling like, well, this is a clean manuscript. This is good, and I, pop a little bit off to an editor and it comes back and looks like the blood scene in Carrie, And then, it is a little bit of a bummer for a writer because we go, oh man. But then when you start reading the editor's input, and I realized, and with what you did for me, looking at the little short stories, wow, you see stuff that I could stare at that manuscript forever and I would never see it, and it's so amazing how you can, pick these things up and notice these things. I wrote the story and I didn't know that was there,
Right. I think
it's so impressive. It really is.
Yeah, I think writers get like dead eye to their own stories because you know what you want to write. I even have to have people look over my stuff because I know what I'm saying. But is it conveying right to your reader? And so that's where a second set of eyes comes in to make sure that you're really and truly saying what you want that scene to say.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I wish I had one of those cool 1940s fedora. I would definitely put my hat, So overall, what is your favorite part of being an editor? What's your favorite part of the job?
Meeting new authors and reading their works. I really enjoy that. I really like that. You just get to see so many different ways of thinking, of how people think. So yeah, I like that.
That's a very excellent answer because you're right. Every single writer that I've encountered, they have their own style, their own point of view, their own way of doing things. And it's fascinating to get to see the differences in how people handle things. And I guess you do that on a daily basis. This writer likes to be very comical. This writer is very serious. And, you get to see a little bit of it all, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, just out of curiosity, you don't need to, worry about a lot of detail, but I was just curious, what sort of software do you like to work with, and what would you recommend to the writers out there? Like, for example, everything I write, I write on Word. It's just the software that I had. But I'm curious, what do you like? Word? Do you prefer something else?
Yeah, I use Word. I'm a pantser, so when I want to write, I just want to write. And I don't want to sit and set up my story. I just want to start writing. So Word works perfect for this, for me. Now, there are great programs out there that will help people, new authors or plotter writers. There's great programs out there for them. And I just suggest Google it, and usually there's a 10 to 14 day trial period on most of them. check them out, see which ones you like the best, see which ones will best work with your stories. You know, because there's a lot of great ones. I'm not going to recommend one over the other because again, every writer is different and you all have different needs.
Oh yeah.
To get your story out there and written. But I just use Word. I just prefer it. I just make folders up and do what I need to do. So.
And you're right, it's a very personal preference to a writer, definitely. Even writers I've had on the show so far. I had one who said, I absolutely hate Hemingway editor. I had another one that said, I love Hemingway editor. It's the same program. Both people are seeing the same program, but it's like anything else in life. It is what it is. And how you want to see it is what makes it good or bad,
Right. Well, and every program has their strengths and their weaknesses. So it just depends on what's going to work for that writer, what's going to end up being the best for their story. And that's the only thing I can really recommend.
Yeah. Really curious about as I think I've said, I've looked at your website. I love it. It's easy on the eyes, has a bunch of great information. And part of that information was a listing of the books you've written. And might as well start with the first book that I saw on there. And that was Katie's Cottage. So I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Let me hold it up here. Here it is, the one that started everything. This is the one that got me started in publishing. I self-publish. I wrote that book and the whole series in 8 months.
Wow.
It just came to me. Of course, sometimes with Pansters, it just comes and it flows and you just go with it. And that book is the first chapter. I actually wrote that for an e-zine magazine that I was going to submit this story to. And it was supposed to be just a short story of 5,000 words. Well, I had a friend of mine read it, and she got to the end of the chapter, and she said, "Where's the rest of it?" And I said, "There's no more." I said, "It's just this. I'm going to submit it. I have 2 more weeks. I just wanted you to read it." And she's like, "No, you're not supposed to do that." She goes, "There's more to the story." And I just kept denying it. But when I got home, I thought, well, what if there is more? And sure enough, it's spawned 6 more books plus the 2 companion books to it. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Quite an adventure.
First book, it was kind of a comedy of errors. I went through a different publishing company. I didn't really care for them. I didn't like the editing that was done. So when I published the second one through the second company that I'm with now, I took the first book and I yanked it from that first publisher. And then I went through and I edited it. And then I had another person edit it. And then I got it back and I re-edited it using everything that they found. And so now I really feel like I've got a pretty good copy out there with this first book. But don't be in a rush to do it. It's exciting. It's fun. You just want to run out there and get your book out in front of a million people. But make sure that what you've written is going to make sense, is edited, that you've had a couple eyes on it, at least one set of eyes on it that are not your own, and then work on it from there. Just make sure that your publishing plan is in place, whether you're going to do traditional publishing or whether you're going to go like what I did, indie publishing. Just make sure it's right.
Yeah, because I agree with a writer needs to focus on the quality of their work. There's editorial level things that I don't know and I never will know. I just don't have that in me to be, your insights are super impressive. And like I said, I can look at my work all day and I won't see it. But then there's things that an eighth grader would catch. Poor spelling, double words, that kind of thing an author can catch. Take the time to clean it up a little bit and then put it in the hands of an editor that can take it to a whole new level. Would you say that's good sound advice?
It is. My fifth and sixth book of the Katie's Journey series, I'm working on getting those published. And I just received back my fifth and sixth from the beta readers. And they pointed stuff out that I didn't even see. And I wrote the book. You know how that is. You write the book, you know what's there, but they both pointed something out that I didn't even see. And I was like, how did I miss that? I mean, I did my editing processes. I had another editor. How did we all just kind of miss this? And it wasn't, I think as a reader, if they were to have seen it, they probably just wouldn't have, they probably just would have read it and moved on. But to me, it was a big deal. And I was like, why did I miss that? So yeah, always get a second set of eyes on your work.
Okay. Well, the last part of the segment of the show, I think is really special because I give the guest an opportunity to speak directly to the audience. So pretty much anything you want to say, you can promote your website or anything else that you like. You can just say hi and, take it from there. So this is your opportunity to say hi to the audience.
Hello, audience. Thank you for joining Relax and Chat with Rod and me today. Again, my name is Trisha Humphrey, and I do run an editing business. I am also an author. I understand a lot of different works. I understand that your works, if you are a writer, this is your time, this is your effort, this is your baby. And I understand that it means a lot to you. And, handing off your work to somebody, that can be very scary because you don't know what someone's going to come back with. So I always try to be kind. I always try to be caring, and just really understand that this is what you've worked on. This is what you've slaved over. This is your baby, and I get this. So I hope that you check me out and check out my website, and definitely subscribe to Rod's channel. And thank you all for joining us today.
Very nice, very nice. Real quick word to the audience on the last slide on this video will include my email address and Twitter account. If you'd be interested in doing the show, just drop me a line. Nothing real formal. You don't have to include anything. Just say, hey, Rod, I'd like to know more about doing the show. And I'll be happy to get back with you and talk with you about it. All right. So that pretty much sums up the show. I want to thank you very much for coming on and being a guest. I love the insights that you've shared. I'll definitely have a link to your book and your website down in the description. Highly recommend to the audience. The website is awesome. A lot of really good information there. Be sure to check that out because it's pretty great website. I'm very impressed. And again, Trisha, such a pleasure. Absolute pleasure to meet you.
Me too, Rod.
And have this chance to just relax and chat.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I guess we'll go ahead and call this episode done.